Welcome to Decentralized News, our weekly coverage of the major headlines in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. I'm your host, Piter, joined as always by Aussie. This week, we're going to talk about the Fed meeting on Wednesday real quick. We have some ETF updates, Bitcoin, Asia ETF out of Hong Kong, ETH, what's going on there, Google Ads allowing ETF ads. We'll go into all that. Brief discussion on the crossroads of AI agents and Bitcoin or crypto. We'll talk about that a little bit. And some altcoin and DeFi news, including a really interesting story out of kind of Counter-Strike, FaZe Sports, and GambleFi with RollBit. We'll get into that a little bit. So there's a lot to get into. Let's jump right in. Please do your own research. This is not financial advice. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting. We love it. The first thing we're going to jump into is the Federal Reserve meeting this Wednesday. Ozzy, what do you got on that?
It's our first FOMC meeting of the year. It's not expected to be a big one. We right now are seeing expectations of 98% towards no change and 2% towards a cut. Everyone's expected no change for the last 3 months on this meeting. That being said, everyone's watching to see what he says because depending on what he says, it can affect potential changes looking at the next meeting in March. If we look at March, right now it's about a 52% chance that the rates stay the same and a 47 or 48% chance that we see a cut of either 0.25% or 0.5%. So that's a pretty big number and like a pretty significant change over 2 months. So we'll see if we do get that pivot and if his language is soft enough to suggest that we get a pivot. These percentages have been steady for the last week or so, but a lot of people were a lot more firm on a cut just a month ago. So the percentages are swinging, and this meeting could really swing how the market perceives interest rates for the next few months.
Did you see the Bank of Canada one that came out?
I didn't end up checking the rates. I think it was no change. Yeah.
No change.
Yeah, I think it was no change. I didn't see anyone screaming in the streets.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
But then we also have so we have the comments this Wednesday. Then we do get unemployment on Friday, so we may see some movement there. Terminal rate seems to have been achieved. Hard to imagine this interest rate going up. It's just a matter of when they're going to pivot. Yeah, we'll be watching closely.
Yeah, I've just confirmed there was no screaming in the streets, which kind of confirmed that I was right. There's been no change. They've kept it at 5% in Canada. That's the fourth straight meeting that they've done that. We've been holding steady at these rates for longer than the U.S. We'll see if the U.S. is quicker to pivot or if the U.S. is going to take its time, follow Canada's lead, and maybe wait 4 or 5 meetings before they cut.
I imagine they'll try to hold on as long as they can, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You watch the Super Bowl up there? Is it a big deal in Canada?
It's somewhat of a big deal. People do watch it. I generally just watch the halftime show. We just do it for the halftime show and see what ads, but we don't even get the American ads, so it's not even worth it most of the time.
That's why I brought it up. Is people do get excited about the ads, and I'm wondering what gets you more excited, Super Bowl ads or the fact that Google today started allowing Bitcoin spot ETF ads. They changed their policy. This is the first day that they are allowing ads. I have to admit, I'm a little more excited about that than the Super Bowl ads this year.
Do we get spot ETF ads at the Super Bowl?
I don't know if you remember, that was considered, the crypto bowl was considered the height of the market last time. And the year after, I think there was 0. It'd be interesting to watch if we get any. But we officially have ads on Google from Van Eck and BlackRock so far, the iShares. That's all that I've seen so far. So Monday was the first day it was supposed to be allowed. So watching to see if we're starting to pump these ETFs a little bit, but we are starting to see ads on Google, which is a huge platform for advertising.
Yeah, GBTC ads were out in airports months before the announcements of the approvals, but the fact that they're going to be all over Google, that's
a billboard or like literally just
your YouTube ads
all over the internet.
Who knows? Maybe like on this episode, like we're not monetized, but Google might literally play a Bitcoin ad before us for the spot ETFs.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, there It's been fun to watch some of the Twitter as they had I don't know, it was Ducati or Dos Equis, that guy.
Yeah.
That was my favorite so far. But anyway, just nice to see Bitcoin, which has no marketing budget, getting some marketing. Pretty cool.
Free marketing from all of these big ETF providers, which is pretty interesting.
The whole concept in and of itself, fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating. That being said, we should probably talk about some of the rest of the stuff that's going on with the ETFs in terms of what the Bitcoin flows are looking like, what's happening with Asia, and what about the ETH ETFs, because we did have some news about out of the ETH ETFs so far.
Let's just catch up on what's going on with the American spot ETFs. As of today, Monday the 29th, Bloomberg Intelligence, James Seyfarth is reporting, we follow him a lot with this, that more than 5 billion has left GBTC and about 5.8 billion has entered through the newborn ETFs. I thought that's a cool name. So we're plus 800 million, thereabouts, 750, 800 million. So not a huge number in terms of the overall market cap, but maybe we're starting to see a change. The volume is going down a little bit too, trending down, but we're starting to see the amount of BTC that Grayscale is sending to Coinbase to sell also going down. So also today, within the first hour of trading, BlackRock's ETF, which is the largest, or always find to be the largest of these 9 new ones, is surpassing GBTC volume by itself. So if this trend continues, it'll be the first day that a single Bitcoin ETF was higher than Grayscale. And right now we have another little interesting note. Right now we have 900 BTC that are being issued every day at the current inflation rate. And BlackRock clients alone are buying 2 to 5 times the total production of BTC. Now, like I said, the volume is going down a little bit, but it could heat up again, and the halving is coming, and that's going to be 450 a day in less than 3 months.
Yeah, we could see some real buying pressure even if the volume drops. The fact that they're buying between 2 to 5 times the daily production, that's some serious buying pressure. But as I've discussed before, they don't necessarily have to buy that every day, and so that's why that Friday pump might become more significant within the market, because while they don't think that there is a ton of upward retail pressure, they might just buy every Friday. As long as Grayscale's selling, they'll only buy on Friday to reconcile their books. To me, that might be very possible. The fact that we've already seen 5 billion leave GBTC, there's a finite amount that can be sold out of that, but there's still a lot of Bitcoin that can be sold from there. Even though it's declining, there could still easily be at least 2 or 3 weeks left.
Yeah, there was some other kind of selling FUD. There was a story about Silk Road, Department of Justice selling. That kind of put a damper on the market last week. And there was also a bit of an update with Mt. Gox, and that coin eventually hitting the market, although I feel like that thing's been swirling for a while. But yeah, just additional kind of FUD last week. But the market has been resilient. We're sitting at 42 today, 42 and a half, and it didn't drop much below 40, held 40 as the line. But another little interesting story coming out of the ETF, Bitwise was the first of these newborn ETF that published where their wallet address, so you can verify their holdings. And what happened was they started getting tips. So since revealing their Bitcoin address, the Bitwise ETFs have received at least 10 donations, but also ordinals. Numerous tips have been in the denomination of 42069 and 6969 sats. There was also one tweet, there's another little interesting note in this, that pointed out there was no test transaction in the mempool and for sending Bitcoin out. And now this address has over 10K Bitcoin. So it's interesting, just the fact that you can see all these things. But soon after the announcement, so the small quantities were coming in, then it's like, what's going to happen with this? Does this count towards the people who are buying? What if this takes off or something like that?
Yeah.
But the Bitwise chief investment officer explained that these assets would ultimately benefit the shareholders. So it will count. But there was also another concern by the crypto community related to the handling of the funds of sanctioned wallet address. And the U.S. Treasury has blacklisted certain Bitcoin wallet addresses. This is a U.S. company, a U.S. ETF. So what's going to happen there? And he addressed this issue as well, stating that it is managed at the custodian level, so by Coinbase. And a spokesperson from Coinbase affirmed this, that the exchange actively blocks and it won't be that would not be part, if there was one like that. I don't know that there is one, but that they are monitoring that. So these are all interesting little stories that came out of this little side story.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's cool to see that they've got their published address. I think that's a huge piece of just transparency. It's like proof of reserves for exchanges, but for your ETF now. So that's a next level change, and really brings the whole kind of space to another level. And the fact that they have the technology to block OFAC listed addresses doesn't surprise me. I'm sure that Coinbase and some of these other exchanges that were trying to be legal probably had to have that infrastructure in place beforehand to block those illegal transactions.
Or for all this to even be approved in the first place.
Yeah.
That was needed to be there. I think on a certain level it's a little disappointing, but at the same time there's some arguments for or against that, but I don't think anyone's surprised by seeing that.
Yeah. That being said, we talked about Hong Kong and their potential ETF, spot Bitcoin ETFs, just not that long ago last week, and there seems to be more smoke in that fire. It's continuing to heat up there with Hong Kong's so not SEC, but SFC receiving their first application. It seems like they are getting ready to launch their first Bitcoin spot ETFs. They've got Harvest Hong Kong, which is one of the largest fund managers in China, providing their application on January 26th. Looking pretty good for a potential launch in Hong Kong, probably later this year, but who knows when that final decision date will be. If you've got any ideas, maybe if you got some inside info, drop it in the comments. When's that final decision date in Hong Kong? When do we see one in Asia? Especially after Evergrande and everything that's going on there with their real estate.
Bankruptcy like over the weekend.
Yeah, really big. Are they looking for that new big stock, those new ETFs to help prop up their stock market? So keep your eyes out for that. That being said, I've also talked a lot about Bitcoin and how I think that Bitcoin will be bought by these ETF issuers directly from miners much more and more. We're seeing Swan Bitcoin, which is a financial services firm that basically just allows you to buy Bitcoin. It's an exchange where you can only buy Bitcoin.
They're a Bitcoin only company. Yeah, they're passionate about Bitcoin.
They're maxis
to the max.
So they've just announced that they've got a new business unit that is all about Bitcoin mining called Swan Mining. And right now they've got about 4.5 exahash per second worth of computing power up and running, which they aim to get to 8 exahash per second as a minimum. Looking to get in that game. They raised about $200 million in capital last year, and it intends to do another round of funding in the coming months with the plan of going public within the next 12 months. So potentially a third company going public in the crypto space in the next year after Coinbase and Circle. Coinbase already being public and Circle announcing that they'll go public this year. Swan could be the next one. So that's interesting that they are choosing to get into the mining game. Maybe it's to ensure that they have their own supply of Bitcoin to sell to users. Because as I've talked about, I do think that a lot of these ETF issuers are just going to start setting up private deals with miners and buying en masse and bulk from these different miners.
Or buying it before it even hits the exchange. So this kind of gives them a little bit of a hedge in that they're not forced to go to an exchange to buy. They have some access to some Bitcoin at least.
Yeah, so this, I think we will see ETF issuers try to get access to Bitcoin before it hits exchanges. And so Swan's making sure they have access to Bitcoin that they can sell to on their exchange. It'll be really interesting, especially because right now, getting into our next story, miners are struggling a little bit. Price of Bitcoin at 42K where it is right now puts a lot of miners in the red for net mining the new Bitcoin. And we don't have the halving for a little while, and prices haven't been jumping that much, and hash rate's competition's been going up overall. And so Most of these Bitcoin miners, if we look at it, there's two of them that are fairly small that are profitable at these prices, but the other big kind of 8 are not. And one of them needs a $60,000 Bitcoin, the other one needs $56,000 Bitcoin, but a lot of them are hovering between 43 and 50K. So do we see a push up so that these miners can get into the green? And if they don't, do they start going under, or do we maybe see some private deals cut with BlackRock and Fidelity and Van Eck to keep these businesses in operation so that they can get their Bitcoin?
Yeah, and that calculation is going to change because in less than 90 days, that inflation rate again is going to cut in half. So it seems like just napkin math, the price would have to go up double what they need. So 62 will be 120 and 50 will be 100, right? If you just do the quick little napkin math on that.
Napkin math would say, yeah. It depends on if they replace some of their mining equipment, because with better mining equipment, better terahash, you can drive down your energy costs. But in overall sense, yeah, we could see a double in required prices, which is after the halving we usually do see that general price appreciation, because everyone that is mining Bitcoin, they need that higher prices and they won't sell. They'll just keep hodling because they need the price to be higher to break even, to make it make sense.
Yeah, and I think it also highlights just how competitive this market is. And while, yeah, there's upside to it, it's a risky business. And I've always been intrigued by investing in miners, but yeah, it's like there's a lot of red on this chart in terms of being underwater, in terms of what prices they need. There's a lot of risk there.
Oh, absolutely. There is a ton of risk with miners and just this mining rate. That being said, maybe gas prices might help these miners be a little bit more profitable, but I think overall it shows that a lot of these big miners are maybe overly hedged. They've got their cost of mining is crazy high.
You could always do proof of stake validating, and we have, just to finish up the e-stories, we have the ETH ETFs. We have a couple stories out of there. So the SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce said that the agency will likely adopt a Bitcoin precedent when making decisions on spot ETFs. Now, she has always been very positive, and the SEC has not seemed to go along with what she says. So I do take this with a grain of salt, but it's nice to hear. Nice to hear this comment.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that comment. I disagree with her thought process. I think maybe coming to a final decision that will play a part, but I think if we look at the previous decision, they delayed till the last possible minute and it took a lawsuit. I still think that there will be a lawsuit before we get the ETF decisions. They just pushed the decisions on Grayscale and BlackRock to March. So really, we're not looking at decisions now till March, but really the final deadlines for ARK and Van Eck is in May, end of May, and I don't think we get those approvals in May. I think those two will probably have to sue in order to get the ETH ETFs before, and we probably get those in September. And in my mind, it just doesn't, it's too early and it will be too fast. I love Hester Pierce's optimism and her stand with crypto, but I just don't think that her vision really lines up with almost anybody else's on the commission's board.
Yeah, we watch him, but I don't expect news to move too fast on the regulatory front with the Ethereum spot ETF. But speaking of stand with crypto, there was an interesting article. So Coinbase has a stand with crypto. I think it's a nonprofit. It's rating all the. I don't know. It's nonprofit. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit lobby group, advocacy group.
But they rate all the senators, U.S. senators. There's 100 of them, 2 for each state. 18 U.S. senators now, quote unquote, stand with crypto and have a positive grade, and we have 30 that are against. So according to their data, 14 of them are Republicans, only 4 are Democrats. Just some examples: Cynthia Lummis, Ted Burr, Ted Cruz, Bill Hagerty are considered pro. 30 senators getting, I think, an F, standing firmly in opposition. So that leaves about 52 up for grabs right now. Of the 30 senators, 23 are Democrat, 5 are Republican. So it follows a similar trend we've seen. 2 are independent. Elizabeth Warren leads the pack. She is a U.S. senator with a rock-solid grade of F. She has 3 anti-crypto bills and 76 statements. But the tracker also noted that Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and independent presidential hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I think even more so with Robert F. Kennedy, and President Biden is listed as against crypto. So with an election year coming up, I thought that was a story worth noting.
Definitely worth noting, like just seeing where everyone stands. And I think the stand with crypto, I remember minting the NFT back in the day, almost a year ago now, I think. And I think this is something to just keep watching. We'll see what happens.
Or maybe get involved.
Yeah.
Lobby.
If you're in the
you
US,
can lobby your personal senator.
If you're in the US, lobby your personal senator and watch this information to see, especially if you've got a senator that's in those undecided spots, let them know how much standing with crypto means to you and how it can help them get your vote. Maybe keep that in mind. Keep pushing that if you want a really nice and juicy 2025 bull run. I'd say definitely try to push that stand with crypto. If you like this content, please consider dropping us a like, subscribe, a comment. Do you stand with crypto? Is your senator on the list of senators supporting crypto right now? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. And tell us what we could do different. Tell us what we could do better. Tell us what you want us to cover.
Let's get into some of the altcoin news, a little down the list. We get through Bitcoin and Ethereum. Interesting story here about Polygon. Polygon almost acquired as many users in 2023 as Ethereum. Did you see this report?
I hadn't seen this report, but it gets me pretty excited looking at these numbers, just seeing where the adoption is and seeing where people are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was a report from Flipside, and they boasted 15.24 million acquired users in 2023 for Ethereum. Or no, that was for Polygon, and 15.4 for Ethereum. They defined an acquired user as one who conducted at least 2 transactions on a particular blockchain, with at least 1 transaction taking place in 2023. So that was their definition. Interestingly, Polygon led the tally for the first half of 2023, but was ultimately overtaken by Ethereum, which kept the lead throughout the rest of the year. Bitcoin came in third with 10.65 million acquired users, and Solana and Arbitrum rounding out the top 5. And then other ones on the list were Optimism, Avalanche, and Base Layer.
I think something's interesting here when we look at these numbers. Like Ethereum and Polygon really stand out from the pack. They've got 30% more new users than Bitcoin. If you look on a per acquired user basis in 2023, Bitcoin has double the new users of Solana. And Arbitrum, which sits a little bit lower on this list for some reason, but is only got about a quarter less than Bitcoin. But its numbers are double Optimism and 4 times Base's numbers. So looking at kind of the competitors, you can see where people are flocking. Arbitrum, Polygon, and Ethereum really standing out. Avalanche is the fact that they're still in the conversation is big. Like a name that's missing is something like Phantom
or Cardano or Binance
or XRP. So all of those all kind of not faring in this list at all. Litecoin, yeah. There's quite a few numbers that are missing. I think it's interesting that they led during the first half and Ethereum took over in the second half. I'd say maybe it has to do with people in the second half who started watching the airdrop narrative and started creating new wallets to farm the layer 2 blockchain.
It gets you involved in lots of different. Just getting involved with Ethereum gets your hands in a lot of different things.
All of the native bridges for most airdrop campaigns, if they're L2s or ETH, like an ETH kind of layer, you have to start on ETH. So that's people will spin up large amounts of wallets to do that. And so that's potentially why we saw Polygon get surpassed if Polygon's growth, you don't need Polygon necessarily to spin up, although they do have their ZK EVM campaign that's going on and their new blockchains that are coming as part of their V2 massive V2 upgrade and their Pol token upgrade. Interesting to watch what happens with Polygon based on their massive adoption this year.
Our next few stories are around this airdrop, which I know you're highly involved in. There was, I guess when was a meme token?
Yeah, when is a meme token? It is great.
Okay.
It was created by the founder of Jupiter, which is a DEX on Solana that's about to do an airdrop in the next 10 days.
So this was like their way of testing the network or something?
It was their way of testing their airdrop contract. And if you had done at least one transaction with Jupiter at any point, you were eligible for the airdrop. And for the when airdrop. Don't know what it's at now, but at one point my airdrop was worth like $100. And I hadn't done a lot of Jupiter transactions up until now, but $100 worth. And so that saw Jupiter top over 480 million in volume over the last 24 hours, mainly trading in stable coins and flipping the new meme token.
That was larger volume than Uniswap.
Yeah.
On Jupiter.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I think if you think about it, there's so many more DEXs on Ethereum and all of the kind of Ethereum network that Uniswap now has more competition, whereas Jupiter is one of 2 or 3 DEXs. There's Orca, there's Radium, and then there's Jupiter. A little bit smaller competition area, but a lot of people were very excited about the when airdrop in Jupiter. So I'm not surprised that it drove so much volume. That being said, it also follows just like what Uniswap did when they first launched. They had the Hey meme token that was first launched, and they burned a bunch of the supply, and it's still hanging around now. Tokens worth almost $1 million on Uniswap for Hey.
When no one knew what a meme token was, that's when Hey came out.
Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing something pretty interesting. We'll see how when does. I'm hodling my when right now, waiting to see when the tokens get burned, and because about 27% of the supply is going to get burned soon, and see what that does for price.
You have they have an airdrop coming out, so these airdrops seem to create a feeding frenzy. So there might be another pump for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm riding it. I think that there could be another pump. So I'm excited to see what happens. We're already seeing a bit of a feeding frenzy with different airdrops coming out too. We've just had AltLayer announce their $100 million airdrop to users. If you were an Eigenlayer restaker with a certain number of points, to be fair, you had to be restaking quite a bit of ETH to be eligible for this part. You could claim your AltLayer tokens, and we're also seeing Celestia stakers will be able to claim theirs soon, but it hasn't been exactly announced when that will be. So we're waiting on that announcement. Check out the Discord. Once we know, we'll let everybody else know that you can claim. And then finally, and we just posted this in the Discord earlier today, the multi-layer roll-up deployer Dimension, which was going to launch its airdrop soon, and its main net in the coming days, is going to be airdropping about 70 million tokens worth $210 million at pre-market prices. And they've already determined who's eligible and claiming, but they just did the recalculation based on wallet addresses that didn't claim. And so I saw my potential stake go up by almost 50%. So I'm getting almost 50% more tokens than I was back beforehand. So that's pretty exciting. Nice little airdrop for essentially just staking and a few other things. So it was definitely worthwhile, and I know there's going to be several more like that this year.
Very cool. All right. There was another fun little story. RollBit partnering with FaZe Sports, which is associated with Counter-Strike. So in one of the largest deals in esports history, RollBit will become a multi-million-dollar global partner of FaZe Clan's Counter-Strike team, which is currently the #1 ranked team according to CS2 Valve World Ranking. RollBit's sponsorship of FaZe Clan focus exclusively outside of the of the United States follows its recent partnership with SSC Poli, one of Italy's most celebrated football clubs. A little bit of exciting news around RollBit.
Yeah, RollBit's getting their reach out there and spending their marketing dollars to reach the right people.
They
Gambling
have
and
income.
GameFi makes sense.
Yeah, they have revenue coming in, so they're using it to try and grow for sure.
Yeah, and grow outside of the crypto space, which I think is probably the smart thing to do. Reach more users, reach new users.
Esports seems like a nice road to take as far as that's concerned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just like AI agents will probably be a growing market in 2025 and beyond. We've got kind of the next big buyers in crypto is what Palantir's Joe Lonsdale says. He's a founding partner at Palantir, and
Well, hang on. Let me stop you just a second. Let me give a quick, simple definition because we talk about it a lot. But what is an AI agent? An AI agent is an agent acting in an intelligent manner. I pulled this off of Wikipedia, by the way. It perceives its environment, takes action autonomously in order to achieve goals, and may improve its performance with learning or acquiring knowledge. So it can make transactions and do a general assigned task on its own. But anyway, go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
So in his Squawk Box interview, he highlighted the big role that AI could play in enhancing productivity in the future. Everyone's talked about productivity in AI, but he said that AI agents could be used to help increase productivity in economic transactions and use cryptocurrency as that means of economic transaction because they both exist on the internet, essentially, in the cloud, digitally. And so he suggested that Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana could emerge as leading assets in that scenario. Super interesting. We've also got David Marcus, who is a former executive at Meta, saying that from his insights into the tech industry, he predicts that Bitcoin will be the pioneering kind of cryptocurrency to become the medium of exchange for AI agent because Satoshis, the smallest form of sats, they're so easy to trade and they're such a small denomination that they are easily programmed for automated tasks and real-time transactions. So the big thing that he's talking about is Bitcoin Lightning Network for settling, which as a layer 2 payment processing. That being said, I don't necessarily agree with this mentality. I actually had to do some transactions on Bitcoin today, and I had one transaction that took over 30 minutes to finalize, and the other one took close to an hour to finalize. And so AI agents, if they're upping productivity, they can't be having transactions take an hour or even 30 minutes. You want transactions that can settle almost instantaneously. And so in that case, Solana or Ethereum layer 2s would play a better space because they will settle so much faster and be able to make those transactions in seconds.
Yeah, in terms of use case, this whole idea of AI agents, the first time I heard about it blew my mind, and just imagining the potential and the potential use cases. I don't know, you try to imagine it in your life, but imagine like an AI Uber picking you up, like cars become autonomous.
Not even that. You could literally just tell your phone to order you a car for 30 minutes from now. And it could literally, that AI agent could figure out that you need to get on Uber. It's just you, so it just needs to order an Uber, a normal Uber, and it needs to order it in the next 15 minutes so that it can get there in time. And it knows what address you're wanting to go to because you tell it you're going to Peter's house or something.
And then like that Uber car, let's say it's going to need power, like whether electricity or maybe it needs gas, maybe it runs on gas. Just imagining it out. So let's say they got to go pump gas, and there's now an autonomous robot powered or pumps the gas for you, and it's got to pay that thing, and it can just pull in. It's all robot, but it's just the transaction is done in crypto, and that's just one. However, it may be a little weird example, but there's a million of them, right? Like,
yeah,
you can get involved in the economy. That's
yeah.
just where my mind went, but
Yeah,
probably better examples than that.
Well, yeah, just to make that Uber and paying for gas example correct, like, or just make it easy to understand, it would potentially, like, if you're, like, it would scan, there'd be like a code on the car that the something would scan, and it would associate with that account, and then the AI agents would negotiate, oh, this car needs regular gas, or this car needs super gas because of this
Or
information.
an electrical charge, you know.
Or it needs, this car is electric, so it needs to plug in. And just by scanning that, the AI agent could then decide what it needs to do at the gas pump, and then know who to charge. Then it can charge the AI agent on the other side to then charge your bank account to pay for that transaction. So it's,
I mean, it was like mind blown a little bit. Like, just there seems like a huge use case potentially. It depends on how this whole AI narrative takes off. Maybe they don't need to pay anything because they just, robots take over. They don't need us anymore. Could be that too.
yeah, AI and AI agents are something that are interesting to watch, and we'll see what happens. I do think that there's a huge use case for crypto in a world of AI agents, and I know that we are seeing AI agent-like apps already starting to appear, at least somewhat. My buddy Grant was mentioning something over the weekend, so definitely something to watch out for, and see where these AI agents potentially start transacting, because that could mean a lot of gas fees for whatever blockchain they do settle on. That being said,
the one argument I could give for the Lightning Network is it is fairly complicated, and you have to set up between two people. Maybe it'd be easier for AI agents to set it up, and they would prefer it because it's more secure, or proof of work or something like that. Maybe that's an argument for it, but I don't know. I think there's a part of me that's a maxi at heart and just hopes Bitcoin wag me. We're all going to make it with it.
Yeah. That being said, that kind of wraps it up for our show this week. We thank you all for watching. It means a lot. It has a huge impact on us, on the show, and helping us reach more people on YouTube and the whole crypto universe. Please remember, though, we're just doing this for educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. We're not financial advisors, and please do your own research before you invest or follow anything that we talk about in the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know if you see any of those new Bitcoin ads. If
you can imagine any AI agent examples, I'd love to hear that too. There's got to be a million of them. Mine is crummy compared.
Yeah. So if you've got any of those, drop them in the comment. We'll love to hear it. And check out the Discord community. We're talking all about airdrops and everything. So check it all out. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday with our next show. Bye.